we will deep dive today into the journey we went through and my team went through when we started to implement predictive sales planning. So I will first introduce myself a bit to give you a bit of a background, who am I in more detail. Then we will go through a short introduction of SWAROVSKI, what the company is about, and then deep dive into our sales planning journey. So within the sales planning journey, we will have several steps, and then there will be also opportunities to ask questions. Good. So about myself, I started, my education background is business and economics. I studied mainly in Switzerland, in Basel and Zurich, and then I was also a little bit abroad. And my latest education, I did a CAS in the University of St. Gallen on performance management. When it comes to my work experience, I started in the consulting industry, also in the area of corporate performance management, have been around in Switzerland, Austria, Germany mainly, and then moved to SWAROVSKI, and now I'm about 8 years with SWAROVSKI, always within the area of corporate controlling, finance. Right now, my latest position, and actually this is the update of the title that is coming this year, is that it will be the Head of Financial Planning and Analytics, as some additional teams have been integrated into my financial planning team, which are also covering a certain system side. Privately, I'm married and I have a dog, a Labrador, which is 1.5 years old. Good. Let's go to the company. So who's SWAROVSKI? SWAROVSKI was founded 1895, more than 125 years ago. SWAROVSKI is a family-owned business still. Daniel SWAROVSKI was the founder, and it's all about innovation, design, and the mastery of crystal cutting. So out of this founding, we arised actually 3 independent holdings. So the Swarovski family is owning 3 holdings. One holding is called utilised. This is a grinding and cutting techniques company. It's a company mostly operating in the B2B business, so you would probably not know about it. It's also in the high-end segment. Is doing around 640 million turnover and has 4,000 employees. The second holding is Swarovski Optic. That one you might know. This is about binoculars and riffle scopes. Is also the ultra high segment of the products, and is doing a turnover of about 200 million with more than 1,000 employees. And the last holding, and this is the one that I will be talking about today, is the Swarovski Crystal business. That's the one you know from the Swarovski stores in the main streets of all the cities. And Swarovski Crystal business is currently doing about 2 billion turnover with 220,000 employees. And we are operating more than 2,000 own stores. Good. So Swarovski Crystal business, a little bit about the history. As mentioned, founded 1895, and since then the business were growing mainly in the crystal cutting. So we have been producing the crystal itself. 1965, we start also working with gemstones, as we are the best. We have the best cutting technology. So not only about crystal, also about any stones. So also gemstones. But the Swarovski, as you know it today, basically was founded around 1980, because only in 1980 Swarovski opened the first boutique and we started producing jewelry. So not only the crystal, but also the jewelry where you put the crystals in. So, and since then the business has been growing enormously, and the jewelry business has outgrown all the other businesses, and today we are mainly a jewelry brand. And in the year 2020 we have merged, or we have found, let's say we refined the strategy and merged all our businesses into one Swarovski, which is focusing on jewelry and focusing on a luxury segment within jewelry. And now in the year 2022, we have a first external CEO. So the family stepped back from the operational management, is now only a shareholder. Good. A quick glimpse about the product, so you can relate something to Swarovski products and the new luxury collections. So that's just a quick glimpse into what are we actually selling and the stores in which we are selling. So this is a flagship store in Shanghai. It's a very modern, flashy design. And you would find it in most of the big cities of the world. You would find our flagship stores or normal stores. Good. Now the introduction part is over, and we will deep dive into the predictive sales planning journey of Swarovski. And I like to start with this slide as kind of this journey has always multiple components, and we are talking always about the so-called integrated driver-based predictive planning journey. So there are three components we want to bring together, and today we will be talking about the predictive planning journey, which is the third pillar. But whenever we talk about planning, we want to achieve, first of all, the best possible integration and cross-functional integration. Second, we want to focus on drivers, so what is driving the business. And third, we want to automate it with predictions. We want to go into create this kind of predictive planning baseline, which then can be interacted with, for example, on top. So today we will focus on the predictive planning part of this journey. And here is the summary. So we will go through the summary first, and then afterwards I will have slides for each step of the journey. But first I would like that you understand the full journey we went through and what actually happened. So we started in the year 2020 with a pilot. The need was to say, right now in the year 2020, the world is changing extremely fast, and we have an understanding that we need to start planning much more frequently. And if we want to do it very frequent, like maybe almost on a weekly basis, it needs to be a very low effort process. On top of that, we understand that we would like to do this in an unbiased way, and ideally using the predictive technology. And all these, let's say, requirements have been aligned with the top management, and was an explicit direction we placed in our overall controlling strategy to say, this is actually priority number 2 is to go to predictive driver-based planning. Okay, great. So having this ambition, we first start to look around on what can we use for that, and we had the technology already in house. It was called SAS. It's a tool which is capable to do AI predictions, and in that tool we started the journey. So we built a first pilot. We used 10 years of historical data, and we made our first experience with the predictions. The output was actually, the prediction itself was quite good, but the problem was that we had no way to interact with this prediction. It was not possible to basically put it into a kind of application, right? We just received the output that we could see it in SAS, but we couldn't give it to our local controllers to interact with the prediction, for example. So we understood, okay, in general, the case seems to make sense, right? So the prediction itself, the quality is reasonable, but we need something where we can combine the prediction with the consumer. So we need to give our controllers the chance to first analyze the prediction, but then also adjust it if needed. Okay, and then we went to the so-called first productive use phase. So this was in the year 2021. We went live with a holistic planning application, which incorporated the predictive planning part. So it was a go live for 300 to 400 stakeholders globally. The immediate rollout all over the world for all our locations. And what did we got out of it? We created the prediction within Anaplan. It's a planning application. It has also predictive capabilities. And the benefit of it was we used quite simple prediction algorithms, and we got very quick acceptance from the users about the result of the prediction. It was good to explain. And of course, we faced the high volatility in the market, but also internally, Swarovski was restructuring a lot and launching a lot of new products, which made it complex for a predictive algorithm, let's say, to predict the sales, as the history is not predicting the future very well. And we understood that at this point in time, we need something more advanced. We need more advanced algorithms. So being here, having users that are in general happy and able already to analyze the trend and interact with the trend, but just needing a better, higher accuracy prediction. We went to the next stage, and to the so-called continuous improvement stage. And this is where we are now. We have migrated our prediction to a more stronger platform, which is the Google Analytics platform right now. This platform here, we are running the prediction with more, let's say, more power and more sophisticated algorithms, and also additional variables. And we are able to reach higher accuracy. And then we push the prediction into Anaplan, the planning application, where our controllers can interact with the trend. So right now we have an acceptance for the interface, so for how to interact with the trend. We are having quite good understanding of local controllers, what they are getting, and also the drivers, so what is driving it. And we are in the progress of further improving the prediction quality, so the accuracy of the prediction. So that's in a nutshell of all about what I will be talking, and we will start now phase by phase to go a bit more into the details of what exactly happened. So here is the pilot phase. So data here on the pilot phase, as I mentioned in the beginning, we started with using time series analysis. We used 10 years of historical data. This data was loaded into SAS, into the predictive, let's say, engine, and with, let's say, rather simple algorithms, we predicted the next 2 years. On top of that, some casual models have been added, where we had actually only one independent variable, which was the traffic. And I will show you in a second what that gave us. So as a first thing, let's say, as a first aim, we took this 10 years of data, and we decided to strip out the trend from the seasonality. So we used very simple models, as you can see on the top, like ARIMA, exponential smoothing, and different other seasonality trend models. And what we can see on this chart is that the red line, this is the actual sales that we had, while the blue line, you see that this is the seasonality itself without the trend, and the orange line, this is the trend. So interesting is, of course, for us, first of all, to predict the trend. And when we have a trend, then we overlay the seasonality on the trend. So that was one of the first components when we started to build and select our champion models, how we want to predict. And as the second point, we on this graph, you can see how the independent variable is helping it or helping the prediction. So here, this is traffic. So when we are trying to predict the sales of a store, so when we have a store in Zurich Bahnhofstrasse, so we want to predict how many people are actually entering the store, because the more people entering it, it's very much correlated with how much sales we are doing. So having the traffic in there, you see traffic is highly correlated with net sales. So it helps a lot to predict the sales. So all that together, let's say quickly put together, then optimized with some model post-processing to look into the shutdowns and closures of stores. So during Corona time, we had it, which was, of course, disrupting the prediction. So we had to implement some rules to not look into that. Then we had have implemented rules to limit extreme factors. We have some rules to overcome the fixed rate conversion. So we're actually trying to convert everything to work at constant a fixed rate in the prediction and then convert it afterwards. And a lot of other, let's say, split models, which have been where sometimes the prediction accuracy is better on a higher level, so we predict on a higher level and then we split it down to lower level. And coming to an end of this pilot, we confirmed almost all of our assumptions, like that our sales are very seasonal, that we have that they are basically a lot of effects that kind of allow the prediction, which is kind of, it's good for, let's say, we can work with that. But we faced, of course, a lot of challenges during the COVID time, that seasonality started changing during COVID time, that different measures like marketing spend limitations have been influencing the behavior of the sales for the future, which was, let's say, not following the usual patterns. So we understood that, of course, we need some additional enhancements. So that was the pilot stage. But on top of all these, let's say, learnings with the predictive itself, we also had the challenge that we needed this expert feedback. We needed to let the controller interact with the trend, which was at that time not possible, so we had to move on to the next stage. And the next stage is the first productive use. Okay. So when we started doing the first productive use, we went to this Anaplan forecast model, and we tried to do it as simple as possible and as accurate as possible. So in ANA, we implemented in this first productive use predictive model, we decided to go for actually two models. One model was predicting on a channel level, which was more accurate, because the more aggregated you do the prediction, the more accurate usually it gets. And the other model was predicting on the store level. So what we found out is that there are many stores which are quite stable and where the store level prediction has a good quality, but there are also a lot of stores where we have volatility and the prediction is not of an accuracy we can use. So in that case, we always switched back to the channel model and then allocated it from the channel down to the store. So we had this kind of two prediction or two prediction set approach. In each set, of course, always there was a champion model. So in each, let's say, model set, we always looked for a champion model. So the algorithm selected the best fitting model automatically. As an accuracy measure, we mainly use MAPE, but in this case, we used actually the average of three indicators, so MAPE, RMC, MATE. I mean, in future, right now, we actually further decided to stick with MAPE only because it's easier for explanation. But at that point in time, we used the average of the three. to decide what is the best model to use. So when it comes to the accuracy in general, we first weighted the recent history more important than the former history. We have 10 years of history loaded to the model, but of course the current year is more important than the previous year, for example. And we implemented rules to overcome the COVID period, so that the model is disregarding different lockdowns from COVID, or is able to pick up on them quicker. Good. So that was this pilot phase, and now let's go into the latest phase. This is the continuous improvement phase. This is where we are actually right now, where we are live with this setup right now. The goal was to implement a new prediction, replacing the one that we had in Anaplan, which will be running on a monthly basis with a 2-year horizon. So the requirements are still the same, and allow a quick updates for the forecast cycle. So we started implementing this Google Analytics prediction. First, we loaded the data, of course, into the analytic engine, and we started building up the features. And in the end, when the prediction was ready, a prediction will be loaded into Anaplan. We did several iterations. In the first iteration, we started with the Facebook Prophet algorithm, in case you would know it or you would like to Google it. And we used only the sales data. In the second iteration, we added holiday data, and in the third iteration, we added some other variables. And I will show you now what happened with the MAPE. In a second, just after this slide. So this is just the visualization, how the processing changed from the Anaplan setup, where we loaded data from BW to Anaplan, processed in Anaplan. Now we are loading from our SAP system to BigQuery through the Prophet algorithm into Anaplan. So what is the result? And we will of course not go through the whole table, but this is one example. So this is one channel. So this is the mono-brand Swarovski retail channel. Most of our own stores are in this channel. And here you can see the MAPE of each model that we had during that time. So the first one, this was the built-in model and was having a MAPE of 9.3. Then we migrated to Prophet, and here we have this 1, 2, and 3 iterations. And after you can see in the first 2 iterations, we have been actually even worse than our previous model. But in the third iteration, when we added the holidays and some channel-specific information, this model started significantly outperforming our initial model on almost all the channels. And this is, let's say, kind of now right now we're here, and we are adding or thinking about further variables to be added, and we are constantly working on that. Good. What else about the performance? Our model is right now predicting 10,000 stores, and out of this 10,000, we consider about 900 to be outliers, which are not having a very high accuracy on the prediction. And we will be working further to basically address them. And how do we interact with all of that? Because as just shown, we have 10,000 stores, and we are running a prediction on every single store. And we have a Tableau dashboard where we can interact a little bit with the trend. So I could, I could show it to you now in live, actually, which is, so this is now kind of a dashboard on a store level, where I can see in blue, for example, the actuals for the last years, and in orange, this is one of the predictions that's currently valid. And I could, now you will not see any names, but I could go to any single store of these 10,000 stores that we have and see what is the current prediction and accuracy for each one of them. And of course, I can do the same also on the channel level. So I could change to a certain specific market or channel and also zoom into the prediction, for example, here into this current year. And which made us much more flexible. So we can also overlay different predictions one on top of the other. And this kind of allows a little bit some more of flexibility. Of course, it becomes also very crowded. But this is what enabled us finally to get an opinion about the quality, and in a way that you don't need to be an expert. So this can be looked at, these charts, everybody can understand. It can be looked at by anyone. You don't need to understand what a MAPE is, or you don't need to have any statistical background. You can judge immediately yourself if this prediction is accurate, for example, on the seasonality, and how accurate is it on the trend. And last but not least, what you see now is when this prediction is in, it's loaded into our planning application, Anaplan, where we have our driver model. And this is the trend, and the trend gets pre-filled into our forecast. And every controller can then decide if he is going just with the trend or if he wants to overrule the trend and do some adjustments. So he can easily adjust on a single store, or he can adjust on a full channel, and the model will break it back based on the trend. So a lot of interaction possibilities within our, let's say, within the integration of the prediction and the planning itself. So what comes next? Next, we will be in the prediction area. We will be looking into how to connect it with our marketing spend, because the marketing budget that we are planning for the future is impacting a lot the top line. And we will further think about macroeconomic factors that will be supporting the prediction accuracy.